Thank you. So quick round of introduction on the speaker. But before that, for those of you who are here, please use the chat to introduce yourself and where you're from. Yeah, most of us know each other, but still, I'd still like to have that interaction going on. So I'm proud to introduce you all to Alix Sampson, right? Yeah. Alix is a rainbow woman. Now, what is a rainbow woman, you might ask? It's a professional network for LGBTQIA plus women, right? Alix will explain more about this and how she founded this network, right? She lives and breathes inclusion in her daily life and is considered a mentor by many people seeking the best way to be inclusive. Over to you, Alix.
Awesome. Great intro, Rajesh. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm done now. That's all you get. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate Jody reaching out and was, really chuffed to hear that you all wanted to learn a bit more about diversity and inclusion. I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I work in this area. I'm lucky enough to work in it and I'm keen to share more with you this evening. So just before I kind of kick into the info that I wanted to share, I just want to acknowledge that we're meeting on stolen lands. A lot of us are dialing in from Wurundjeri country. So I just want to pay my respects to them, elders past, present and emerging, and recognise that sovereignty was never ceded. For me, I actually grew up in Nhulunbuy, Northern Territory. So it's really close to my heart that we have a lot of reconciliation to do with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples of Australia. I'll introduce myself. I'm Alix. I'm actually a bisexual, I've got my rainbow on, bisexual cisgender woman, and my pronouns are she and her. You can see in the Zoom call that I've got she and her in my name. And the reason that I do that is to try and create a safe space for my trans and non-binary, non-gender conforming pals, I guess, just to show that I recognise that gender expression, the way that I dress and present, doesn't equal my gender identity. So it's a bit about me. And yeah, as Rajesh said, I'm a co-founder of Rainbow Women, and Rainbow Women has really helped propel me to become an out role model in my workplace and beyond. I'll share a bit about that with you as well. So I think we have until 7, so we have about 45 minutes. I'll just keep my chat to 20 minutes or so, and then hear from you all on questions, or if you want to hear about something specific, we can go into more detail. It's really informal chat. I've got a structure just so that I don't ramble. So I've just got that on my screen if you see me referring to it. And I do have some pics to show as well. So I will share my screen. Here we go. Screen share. And I want to see your lovely faces. I need to figure out how to do that actually. All right, here we go. Excellent. So celebrate diversity and inclusion with Rainbow Women. I hope you can all see that. Thumbs up for Jesh. Yep, excellent. 3 things that I want to go over will firstly be my career journey and how I got to the role that I'm in of Senior Diversity and Inclusion Advisor. Secondly, we'll talk about Rainbow Women, and I'll share a bit with you about that. I'm really keen to do. I'm really passionate about Rainbow Women as well. And then what can allies do to be more inclusive? So this is the part where I feel like you can take something away and implement it straight away. So quick hint, the she, her thing, the pronouns, that's something quickly everyone can do, and you can easily implement that to show your solidarity with the gender diverse community. But to kick off, something that I know very well is my own career journey. Jody reached out because, I was sharing something on LinkedIn about my D&I milestones, I guess, at AGL. And so I thought I'd take you back to the very start of my AGL journey, which is kind of, the start of the process of me in my professional career, mostly. And I first started in that top left-hand corner there as a frontline inbound call centre agent for AGL. Now, I started AGL in 2013, I think. I started at AGL as a, so cute. I started as what you would call a straight ally, so a heterosexual passing ally to the LGBTQ plus community. I was 21 years old, and yeah, I was really closed off about who I was to not only my work colleagues and friends, but also my family and myself. So joining AGL, in 2013, 2014, I noticed that there was an AGL Shine network. So AGL Shine, it actually didn't start in 2013, it started in 2015. And it's an allies and identifying LGBTQ plus network. So it's made up of people from all across the organisation that say that they support the LGBTQ plus community. If you're not familiar with that acronym, basically means the queer community. So lesbian, gay, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and plus. So everyone that isn't your sort of societal expected heteronormative person. So when I saw the AGL Shine community, it really kind of said to me that AGL was an inclusive organisation to start with. I continued along my path as an entry level AGL person, and I moved into a resolutions manager role. I was still straight passing, straight ally, as I would call it, but deep down I knew that wasn't the case. Like I knew from pretty much school that I was different in my sexual orientation, and I know Nick on the call would probably be nodding along, going, "Yeah, I've had those same experiences." Going through the high school process of who am I, how do I identify, why have I got these weird feelings about people of the same gender as me? That's confronting. So moving through the ranks at AGL, seeing the rainbows and seeing people have a rainbow lanyard or a rainbow logo in the signature, it really just started to show me that, hey, it's okay to be exactly who you are. Come about 2017, I moved into this performance analyst role. So you can see that third picture there on being very smart, writing things on a whiteboard. And the performance analyst role for me was a step into operations at AGL. I was working with people that they really knew what they were doing. And I felt like this imposter going, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll pretend, faking it till I make it, just like a sponge, taking in information. And I was in that role for about a year and a half when I was already volunteering with Shine at this point. So I was a straight ally. I was volunteering to help run their events. I was, bringing people into the Shine network going, hey, we need you to wear a lanyard, like this, these are our policies. And it got to 2018 and I was a performance analyst, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to have to do something about how people perceive me. And I took the opportunity when we were running a program of basically got people all over the organisation, like 10 people across the org to tell their story on a poster. And it was like, what does AGL Shine mean to you? Like, why is it important? And what do you hope for the future of the LGBTQ plus community? And so I was running that project, and it was to go all around all of our sites. So AGL's across all states in Australia nearly, except Tasmania and Northern Territory. And I used that opportunity to go, okay, I'm on one of these posters. I'm going to tell everyone who I really am. And so when it's asked the question of why is AGL Shine important to you, I just went, you know what, it's important because I am bisexual. Just mic drop, I'm out. And this poster, had my picture on it. It had my whole kind of life story. And then the future that I hoped for was that everyone else would feel empowered to be their true selves every day and live as themselves without feeling like they can't show that. So that's what you can kind of see in the last picture is diversity and inclusion. I started in 2019. After I came out in 2018, I started as a diversity and inclusion advisor. So this is pretty much my dream role that I'm in right now. I recently got promoted to senior. Woo, yeah, senior. But I've been doing diversity and inclusion work now for 2.5 years, just about. And it's just like I wake up every day working on what I care about. And I remember saying to my performance analyst leader, I said, look, I don't really get up every day and want to work on electricity metering data. That's not very exciting to me. But what is exciting is getting up and knowing that I'm going to organise an AGL Shine event. And that's when I knew I needed to get into diversity and inclusion. I got something in common, worked as a call centre agent for 3 years in your career. I love that. That's you, Vijesh, isn't it? Yeah. You get to know yourself and customers very well when you're a call centre agent.
I kind of always tell this to all the college, all those guys who come out of college, they're in their first year.
Graduates.
I tell them to go for a call center job, because that's where you learn a lot of things. You learn how to talk, you learn empathy. Yeah, you learn to understand the customers, and because they are the people who are going to give you the money, and they are the reason for your salaries, right?
It builds your resilience like no other.
Exactly.
I totally recommend it. Agreed. I agree with you. And Jody, what was a penny drop moment for you? Was that about going into diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, like, when you started your journey as a hetero, and then what happened? I know what happened, but like, when was that exact moment when you said, that's it, like I can't take it anymore?
Yeah, I actually, in that 4 kind of pick process, I moved to Melbourne as well. And I used to live in Adelaide, and Adelaide is very well known for being a big old country town, basically. So I always felt like a big fish in a small pond. And moving over to Melbourne, I could kind of blend in a little bit and do my own thing, go on dates with different genders, and like not feel like anyone was closely watching me. Whereas in Adelaide, you can throw a stick and hit half my family, So I think moving to Melbourne, I just went, I'm already living as myself over here. I just need to tell my family that that's what's happening. So I planned this whole like dinner, told my mum and dad. I was like, oh, so we're gonna have dinner, yeah. We're having dinner, and I just went, Mum, Dad, I'm dating women. and then they go, yeah, okay. And Mum's like, can you pass the salt, please? And I'm like, okay, so that's fine. That was a big moment for me, and just really well received by my immediate family. So that showed me that, okay, I've got this really supportive workplace that have the visible rainbows, and they have the pronouns, and they have, AGL Shine. I've got my immediate family that support me, to the end, basically. I told my brother before I told my mum and dad, and my brother's like, yeah, mate, we all know it's all good. And my mum was like, you've been kissing girls since you were like 10. Okay, so we all knew that I was bisexual, except me. I didn't want to tell anyone. And yeah, that was kind of the penny drop moment.
Thank you.
But yeah, so I think D&I really speaks to my passions. It really speaks to wanting to create selfishly a better workplace for myself, because I want to make sure that I'm cared for. And I also have a bunch of friends in different diversity dimensions, I guess you could say. Like, they have intersecting identities, whether they're LGBTQ+, whether they have disability, whether they're from a cultural linguistic diverse background, whether they're First Nations. I've got a lot of people that are in marginalised groups that are close to me, and making sure that they have a safe and supportive workplace is so important to me. One of my friends at work said, I really, really want to wear a skirt, and he identifies as a cis gay man. So he's assigned male at birth, he presents male, and he identifies as men. And he said, I really want to wear a skirt to work. This was a few years ago. And I was like, do it. You do that. And he's like, oh, I'm a bit worried about what people think. I said, no, you know what? We're both wearing skirts tomorrow. And I don't care what the uniform policy says, like, we're doing it. He still hasn't worn one, but it does get hot sometimes, so he considers it, but it's going to happen. And it's just about making sure that my close people to me feel encouraged and supported to be themselves. Enough about me, rambled about myself. I'll move on to Rainbow Women and this beautiful network that we've created that, honestly, I know that it sounds a bit BS, but it has truly changed my life. I'm really honoured to be a part of the leadership team of this network. So Rainbow Women is a LGBTIQ plus women's network, a professional network that the vision is to connect professional LGBTIQ plus women and empower them to be their true selves every single day. That's what we aim to do. And the reason that we started it is because in 2018, PwC and Pride and Diversity released this report, and it was called Where Are All the Women? Nick's probably going, yep, I've heard about this report so many bloody times. But like Nick and probably you and me both read it and went, this is wild that nearly 1,300 same-sex attracted women, so bi women, lesbian women, women that are same-sex attracted, whether they're cisgender or transgender, 35% of them are not out of work. And that's like a third of queer women that exist that were surveyed as a part of this report. I read that report and knew that I was like, that's me. That was me last year, that was me not living my true self. So I met up with a few people from AGO and ANZ, a few other LGBTIQ plus women. Bear in mind, I'd only been out for like 3 months at this point, so I was baby queer. I had no idea what I was doing, just knew that I was like, something needs to be done here, I'm going to try and do something. So Amelia, Caitlin, myself, Ro, we all got together and established this network. So it was just the four of us, 4 queer women that went, we need to catch up, we need to do something here. And so we started with 4 women just having coffee once a month and organically have grown this network to span 3 cities, over 90 members across, I've got my numbers here, 29 industries and 50 organisations. So the reach is incredible. You can see a couple of pics here. We've been going for 2.5 years, but we've lived through COVID together. We've hosted events at our different organisations, predominantly AGO and ANZ, because we've co-founded it. We've marched Mardi Gras together. We have like a Christmas party every year. It's not only have we been able to bring LGBTIQ plus professional women together, but I've met some of the best friends of my life just through that common connection of having that same lived experience in some way and being given a space to talk about it and celebrate it and support each other. So that's how we founded it. It's a very organic network. I think the first time we caught up, someone was like, oh, well, we have an agenda. And I was like, no, no agenda. We will catch up, everyone pay for their own lunch, and we'll have a drink. And then we just ended up talking about, it's generally the conversations will be about what each person's organisation is doing in LGBTQ plus inclusion. What can we all do together? How can we leverage each other's learnings? And I know so many people that have come to Rainbow Women and then come out about their gender identity or about, a newfound sexual identity. Maybe they change their pronouns and they report, we survey our members, but they report that they feel more comfortable to be themselves after having joined. And so seeing new faces come in, every month to our events, it just encourages me to continue to bring my whole self to work and beyond as well. Jump in at any time, by the way, if anyone has questions, or I can see the comments going off. So Zakti said, your passion is infectious. Thank you. They say it's like the Delta strain. I'm a passionate individual when it comes to inclusion. Can't help it. I did want to sort of finish the more structured session with what allies can do, because I think that allies play a big part in the success of inclusion. And that not just go, like, that doesn't just go for LGBTIQ plus people, but, you know, Vijesh and I were talking about, it also goes for people from different cultural backgrounds, different religious beliefs, different, you know, gender identity. Might be someone lives with disability. You know, I myself live with invisible disability, and allies play such an important role in fostering inclusive workplaces and spaces. So that actually goes into the first point here, creating safe spaces. From a workplace perspective, creating safe spaces is paramount to engagement of people. If we have unsafe, and that's not physical only, it's also psychological safety. But if we have unsafe workplaces where people don't feel like they can be themselves, they are not going to produce their best work for you or for the organisation. You know, Vijesh is talking about starting at Telstra and how that workplace is so infectiously inclusive. And you're now going to be encouraged and empowered to be your best true self and bring that diversity of experience and thought to the table so you can innovate and produce better business outcomes. So creating safe spaces, I think, is like the first step of really truly including everybody. And you can do that through celebrating days of significance. So today is International Non-Binary People's Day. Nick and I actually we dialed into ANZ Pride's event on, it was a panel event with 4 non-binary folk, and they spoke about their lived experience. So celebrating that it just shows that, you know, whilst I may not identify as non-binary, I celebrate and listen to those stories and elevate the voices of people in that marginalised group. So celebrating the days of significance, you know, Jody would be sick of seeing me every single day of significance, just posting a new article or using it as an excuse to share an event that's happening around that particular date. Use inclusive language. Again, it's not specific to LGBTQ, but inclusive language is paramount. I think I put something on my Instagram today that using neutral language and not making assumptions, which is the next point, is something we can all do. We can all use inclusive language when asking about somebody's weekend. We can say, hey, what'd you get up to on the weekend? Did you go somewhere with your partner? You know, if you know that they're with somebody, rather than making assumptions that their partner is X gender or even that they themselves are a particular gender. The language piece, like communication, is everything. When we communicate, however that may be, whether you communicate verbally, body language, or, you know, sign, being inclusive in your communication is going to make somebody feel safe, and you're going to create a safe space through communication. But talking about assumptions, that's another thing around, you know, that's why I call out my pronouns, because I also, if I haven't told someone my pronouns and they assume that it's she, her, sometimes I will tell them, hey, you didn't ask me my pronouns. If I'm at, where was it? Went out to dinner with my partner, Zach, a few weeks ago, and the server was saying, oh, ma'am, what would you like? And, you know, I'm like, oh, don't like that. Oh, ma'am, what would you like to order? And I was like, well, I'd like to order not being called ma'am, please. I don't go by ma'am. I go by Alix, or nothing at all. So not making assumptions is a very easy way to make people feel like they can be whoever they want to be. There was one comment on the panel today which I thought was amazing, that people can have pronouns that are she and her, or perhaps someone has she and they, or he and they. And my friend Ellie on there, when they're talking about having two pronouns, so she and they let me know, or they let the audience know that when someone uses they, Ellie feels seen. Ellie feels heard that person's used the pronoun they. But when they use she, they feel like they've been assumed their gender, like they've just assumed, even though it's their, you know, pronoun that they use. They feel heard when people use they, and they feel assumed as a woman when they use she, and I just thought, don't make assumptions, people. Let's just use gender neutral language and affirm people in who they are until they tell us. Be visible. That can again be a pronoun thing. If you want to show your solidarity for a community, have your pronouns in your email signature, have them on your LinkedIn. You know, LinkedIn have got this awesome setting on your profile now where you can put your pronouns in. And until before that, we would have them all in our names. So it was us pushing our way into people being more inclusive and more visible. But be visible, show up to events like this where people can share their truth and show your face and show how, you know, I'm just looking up at my window that faces the street and I've got this big progress flag that's in the window. And I just hope that a kid walking by from, you know, the bus stop or something will go, hey, I know that house is safe. I know the people that live there are safe and they care for who I am. Well, I don't know that person walking past, but I want them to know they're appreciated and celebrated. And I've got a couple comments, Instagram too. What was that comment for? Instagram too. Oh, you can put your pronouns in Instagram bio. Yes, I love that. I was putting my pronouns in my bio, like, you know, I was writing them in. And then Instagram I'm assuming they're all owned by the same person, right? So it's like, let's get them all done at once. Instagram, LinkedIn. You can put your pronouns in there. Is she, her for everyone? She, her, hers. So Jody, what do you mean by that question?
I was confused when you said that you put she and her. Like, I also put that. So isn't that for everyone though?
So other pronouns that exist are he and his. So it could be she and her. So they're different, like in different circumstances, you would say her. Sometimes you would say she. Another option is he and his. Another option is they and them, if someone doesn't wish to be either he or she. And there are plenty of other pronoun options like ze and they, which start with X. And there's plenty of different options out there, but I think the safest thing is to ask someone what their pronouns are. I do it all the time when people come to Rainbow Women and they are at their first event. We'll have little name tags and we'll write our name and our pronouns, she and her, or she and they, or they and them. But we'll always say, hey, nice to meet you. What's your name? What are your pronouns? And it just creates that safe space of people can tell you how they identify and we're not assuming anything. I've got a comment from Sakti about, I hope I'm saying that right, Sakti. I'm one of the many who struggled with imposter syndrome, sometimes do. Took me years of self-inquiry to know who I really am. What would you say to people like me who are still in the journey of finding their real self so that they're not confined by what others expect them to be? Oh, I love that question. That's so well thought out. I'm going to copy that question and ask that to the next panelist so I can see. What would I say to someone who's in the journey? So I think that something with imposter syndrome, I take great joy in challenging what people think of me. And I think that's a great way to start breaking those barriers down. As an example, I have a partner. He identifies as a man. His name's Zach. We love each other, together forever. But people see that I'm with a man and I present quite feminine, and automatically they assume that I am straight. And if that ever gets thrown around or someone assumes something about me, I will tell them. Just so you know, yes, Zach and I are in a relationship. I'm bisexual. And just break down that barrier when assumptions are made. Similarly, when I wasn't with Zach and I was dating, I would be going out for a date, and yeah, it might be with a man, it might be with a woman, it might be with someone that is gender non-conforming. But if someone at work said to me, oh, what's his name? even if it was a guy I was going on a date with, I would say, oh, could be she, could be they. Their name is Zach. So I think my advice would be challenge those assumptions. If someone is confining you to what their expectations are, oh, you can do that because you're a woman, or you can do that because you should know data. Break that down and challenge the shit out of them. Softly challenge, you don't have to make anyone uncomfortable. You can say, why do you think that? What made you think that my pronouns are she and her? Oh, you've got long hair. Did you know that gender expression and gender identity are two different things? My pronouns are she and her, but you don't need to make an assumption. That would be my advice. I hope that's not too forward for you, Sakti. I've got 2 more points on what allies can do, and then maybe I'll stop presenting and we can open up to a bit more convo. But listen to stories. I grew so much when I started listening to other people's experiences. Now is not a good example because I am the one talking, but going along to panels and speaking events where I can hear what other people have gone through to get where they are. Exactly like what you all are doing is paramount to understanding people's perspectives and their different lived experiences to yours, and provide support. So this was one I struggled with initially because I thought I had to resolve everything, and I don't know everything. So people would come to me and say, oh, this is my problem. And I'd say, I got it. This is what we can do. That's not providing support. Providing support is hearing, listening without judgment, and then connecting people to the right areas that can support them. So, whether that's a professional queer organisation, whether that is another person with the same lived experience, directing them. So I feel like I'm the queen of connecting people now. I'm like, oh, you're a bisexual cisgender woman. Go and speak to this person. Oh, you're going through this gender identity crisis. Go and speak to that person. And I'm just, connecting people with organisations that can actually support them. And that way I can get through as well, because you can't take on everyone's problems. I've got my own problems. And that's kind of it, all that I had. But I think just to quickly dive back into, what we covered, you heard my story. I was propelled to my dream job, for being celebrated and embraced as my true self. That's what really got me to where I am. Rainbow Women, we aim to provide a safe space for professional, just a space actually, for professional LGBTIQ plus women to build those authentic connections with one another. And what can allies do to be more inclusive? In summary, there's so much that allies can do to be more inclusive and support their diverse colleagues, friends, and family. That's it from me. I will stop sharing. And thank you. Thanks for listening to me ramble. And I hope that there's some info in there that you all can take away. I guess over to you of what you think you can do differently, or if there's anything that you want more info on.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. That was wonderful. Hey, I'm just opening up the session for all of you guys to, discuss anything you want to.
First of all, Alex, this is Shakti here. You were pronouncing my name right. Let's start with that. And sorry, I'm on the train and hence I couldn't voice out. Thanks for sharing what you shared. It did mean quite a lot. And I think your response to the fact, we need to challenge the status quo per se. I think I have 2 questions follow up on that. And sorry about the announcement, right? Question number 1 is, for people who are really passionate about this and they know what they are fighting for, it becomes organic and natural for them to respond in the way you were mentioning, right? However, what are the status quo cognitive biases which you have seen, which people are not even aware of because of the way our society is, we just, even the people who are going through this journey, it's a status quo, they just are okay with that. So what are the cognitive biases you have seen around this area which you feel are just invisible?
Yeah, I think we definitely have a long way to go when it comes to disability and accessibility. You know, I think about the way that our society is set up, and, you know, there's probably two areas that I think that bias really comes into it. Firstly, not everything is accessible to everyone. You know, there's certain roles that just simply aren't accessible for people with disability, and whether that be, you know, for me, my invisible disability is I likely have ADHD. I also experience anxiety. So going into the office is a big deal for me. And thank God I can access my work from home. But there are companies out there that don't support people with disability to work from home when they need to. They're not as flexible with their work hours. They're set up in a way that doesn't, or that sets a lot of people up to fail. And so I think we have a long way to go when it comes to making organisations accessible for people with disability, visible or invisible disability. And secondly, I was reflecting on the way that we recruit in general and organisations' expectations around education. Myself, no education formally after high school. Deliberately, I didn't want to go to uni. I got told, you should go to uni. You're going to do really well. You should be a doctor. You should do this. You should do that. Teacher, that. Yes, whatever. And I went, don't tell me what to do. So I left the country and didn't go to uni. And when you apply for a role in corporate Australia, generally, the expectation is such and such education. You know, after school, you should have a certain degree, diploma, whatever. And that in itself, we're making roles inaccessible to people of from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, from different cultural and linguistic diverse backgrounds, First Nations people. Not everyone is set up to excel in an academic environment. I certainly, you know, after reading my school reports when I was going through this ADHD process, realised that I do not flourish when it comes to science, technology, engineering and mathematics. I'm a drama freak and I did very well in drama, but that's because I'm a class clown. I'm hilarious, but I'm terrible at maths. And I'm never going to go and get formal education. Thank God AGL took a chance on this little queer kid because I've excelled, but we don't always offer that opportunity to people. And that bias in itself we need to shift that. We need to unwind the clock there and include more people to have a better workforce overall. So I hope that was kind of on track to what you wanted to hear. If not, I'm sorry. I can easily go on a little rant. So anyone else have any just thoughts, like, you know, it doesn't have to be a question for me, but something that you took away from that changes a perspective that you had or makes you question how you did things before?
I believe now a lot of companies are looking at, I've heard of this from Google, I think IBM in the US, they are also looking at it from that perspective. You don't need to have a degree kind of, you know, because you look back to where I come from, India, every other person, every third person, or probably every second person is an engineer, right? And
Yeah.
The worst thing I've heard is when Ginny Rometty, when she was the CEO, she came to India, and there was this open town hall session where she says that the quality of education, I mean, the quality of the people who are in IBM during that period is, was it the quality of the people or the quality of the engineers being churned out at the moment is not worth it. I mean, it's not valid. And that was kind of a big statement to make. It kind of resonated with the industry. Like, and after this, I guess 2 or 3 other CEOs as well said this. So yeah, just churning out engineers, it does not make sense.
Yeah.
And you can have a degree
Yeah.
as well, right? But does that degree make any give you any value? I don't know.
And we're finding
Yeah.
that on the job experience is proving to be it's that learning that people can take to another job to go, hey, I've experienced this, someone took a chance on me, and now look at me, this is what I've achieved. And that's being
Exactly.
flexible for people, different capability.
Yeah. 20 years ago, when I did engineering, I learned about stuff like COBOL, Algos, C, not C++, nothing after that. So, and when I got into the mainstream industry, I ended up not getting a job in the software side, but more on the hardware side. And that is the first time I ever saw sat and worked on a computer, because I didn't have a computer of my own, But yeah, built my career from there, did quite a lot of things like networking, hardware side, moved into different areas, customer care. I did call center work here in Australia, in Melbourne for a year, I guess, with Medibank, with Auspost, those casual intakes. But yeah, you're right. Education is hit and go. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not to say education doesn't have its place. It does.
Yes, it does.
It also we need to have a space for individuals that don't thrive in those settings. And I think it starts in schools, right? But I can't solve that. But I can say that it didn't work. I mean, I did well in school, but it didn't work for me in all aspects either. And we just need to recognize that every single person is different. Like, every individual has their own way of learning and their own way of thriving, and it's not one size fits all, unfortunately.
Yeah. I just,
Yeah.
when saying that, I just remember I had a college mate of mine who just scraped through college, but he went to the US. He he founded a company. He sold it for a good deal, and now he's a open banking head for JP Morgan and Chase. And the way he speaks, I'm like, mate, you never spoke anything close to this when in college, and that's purely stuff that he experienced with his college. I mean, with his work while in the US. The experience has built him the way he
Exactly.
talks. Yeah.
Probably just to add, for me, while as you're speaking, I was feeling this Shakti here, by the way, I was feeling grateful for a couple of people I met in the journey, and I'm not sure if you know them, but I would love. You're talking about connecting people. One is Westpac. There is this person called Kylie, and she kind of interviewed me, and I got into the Westpac recruitment process. They have a special tailored mentor program for autistic people, and
Yes.
I was fortunate to mentor one person while in my time, and just the passion in which they were driving to make it okay for them to be able to survive and thrive. And Sam, who I was mentoring, was absolutely brilliant in his pattern recognition and his way of dealing with work, and that's one. So that appreciation, and I'm not sure if you know, that's happening in Westpac. That was brilliant. Second, my first manager at NAB, his name is Tony Dang, and he just, I think, moves to ANZ from inclusivity. I think he's heading the inclusivity perspective, and just the passion which people right now carry. So as you were speaking, I was being appreciative of those who are standing up and doing what's required when people, uh, I would love to connect if you already don't know, but they were. Thanks for doing what you're doing is where I'm finishing up with now.
Thank you. No, that'd be great. I would love to, connect with you and connect with those people. It sounds like, those are leading orgs that I look to, and my friend Nick on the call also works in diversity and inclusion. We look to organisations like that as leaders, along with the work that's happening at AGL and at Woolworths. And I think we all just need to learn from each other, and that's what I do a lot of, is reaching out to other organizations and saying, let's share information here. Like, what are you doing? What can we do? How can we learn from each other? Because I think it was it you, Nick, that said No, it was Kate from NAB who said something about all ships rise when the tide rises. And so if we're all, I've just butchered that quote, but if we're all, improving, everyone's going to reap the benefits. It's not a competition thing in D&I. It's about all learning from each other and making the whole space better together. Oh, you could put that on a t-shirt. That was good. Better together. That's actually one of AGL's values.
I'll definitely buy that t-shirt.
Don't buy it. It's awful. I've just made it up. We'll put a bit more work into it and then you can buy it.
Graphic design it, sort it out.
You've got some contact stick.
Yeah, we'll do something. We'll do something through Into Retail. We'll do the All Ships Rise Better Together. Maybe the ship could be called Better Together.
I've got a full back tattoo of a ship, so that's perfect. Like that would be fully me, I think.
Up your alley.
All ships, right? Yeah.
Well,
thanks for having me. Thanks for everyone giving up your evening. Like I feel privileged, and I hope that you got something out of it. And would love to stay in touch with everyone. Keen to hear what you'll get up to in the future.
Same here. Thank you so much, Alix. Vijesh, do you want to pause the recording for a second?
We're going off the record here.
Okay, off the